Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first day proper of E3. It's Polygon Live. I'm Polygon senior editorial producer Griffin McElroy, and we're going to start things off with Evolve, which I'm very excited to see. Joining me is Polygon's Matt Leone. Hi, Matt.
Hello.
How you doing?
Excellent.
Good. And Chris and Phil from Turtle Rock Studios. How's it going, guys?
Howdy.
Good.
So can you tell us a little bit about what we're going to be seeing today? Because Evolve, I feel like, is still a relatively new thing in terms of like something that we've actually been able to see, and we'll be able to play it at E3 this year.
Right. Yeah. So it's a co-op sort of versus lone wolf. It's 4v1. 4 human hunters fighting a boss monster. But the key in Evolve is that the boss monster is a human-controlled player-controlled monster. So. Yeah, so what we'll see today is footage from Hyde's perspective. He's one of our assault characters, and they'll be hunting down the Kraken, who's our newly revealed monster. We have multiple monsters, multiple hunters in each class, and the monster feeds on wildlife and gets bigger and bigger over time, and hunters are trying to stop him before he gets too big and too powerful.
Interesting. So obviously, I think some of the roots of the Left 4 Dead competitive mode are there in terms of it being, asymmetrical, but this one's a little bit more class-based, having to play a role rather than being more of a generalist, which is the case in Left 4 Dead.
The level of cooperation is certainly much deeper, in this, in terms of like each class has a very specific job, that they have to fulfill, on the team.
And each of the 4 classes has 3 characters within it that have sort of their own specialization under that archetype. Can you talk about that? Because you guys recently revealed the second set of archetypes under that class structure.
Right. So it's about finding. So each character, they all have their own pieces of gear. So even though Assault's job is to deal damage, we have 3 different assault characters, and each one of them deal damage in sort of a different way. Hyde, for example, is one of the newest characters that we showed, and he's the shortest range but the most powerful, whereas Markov's got longer range but doesn't do quite as much damage sort of per second. So it depends on what you like, what fits your play style best, and it also means for the monster, he's got to look at kind of what the combination of hunters he's fighting against to figure out how to deal with those and how to strategize against those guys.
And this is the second monster you're showing, right?
Right. Yep. Yeah. So Kraken, we just revealed Kraken at E3. Our first monster was Goliath, and Goliath is a brawler. He's a very short range, just very traditional, like what you would expect. He breathes fire, he throws rocks, he jumps in the air and smashes stuff with his fists, right? Kraken, on the other hand, is kind of a long-range fighter. He stays in the air, he flies, and that's sort of a big difference. Fighting a monster who's flying versus fighting a monster who's on the ground is a big difference. But also, most of his attacks are ranged. So fighting against that monster is a completely different experience. So what we were looking for from early on in the game was that if you change what characters, whether it's the monster or whether it's the hunters, if you change that combination of characters, it changes the whole core experience.
Do the hunters know what monster they're going to be fighting whenever they jump into a match? Because one of the most interesting things, I think, is the idea that they have to hunt this monster down. They have to actually find them before they can start working together to kill them. Can you talk about that aspect of the game, of like having to actually seek them out?
Oh yeah, so as I said, the monster's trying to get bigger and bigger. So really, early on, it's a hide and go seek game. The monster doesn't want to be found, wants to avoid. He wants to be a little bit stealthy and avoid the hunters. But the hunters want to hunt him down and fight him. But if the monster gets big enough and strong enough, then he turns the tables and becomes very powerful and is able to really start hunting down the hunters instead.
Can you talk about some of the progression hooks that are present in the game? Is there any sort of leveling structure for the hunters and the monsters?
There is. We haven't really talked about it too much. But basically, yeah, the first 4 characters that we revealed, you'll start off in the game, and Goliath, you'll start off with those unlocked, and then you'll have to work to unlock the other characters.
Interesting. So we have a pretty sizable chunk of B-roll. Can we hop into that? Yes, there we go. We can hop into that. We are now in that. So tell us what we're looking at here. These are the 4 new characters that you just recently revealed, right?
Right, and the monster's already on the ground. It's already started. He gets a head start, and so as the hunters fly in on the dropship, So right out of the gate, hunters are able to find and see the monster's footprints. So so these guys will be searching around for footprints, and then also Daisy's one of the new characters. She's Maggie's pet. It winds up being like a kind of like a bloodhound.
Yeah, sort of the laughing duck hunt dog, sort of.
Yeah, so Daisy can smell the monster and sniff him out. So so they follow Daisy, and the monster actually was pretty close. So now they've found the monster, and we've kind of gone, if you see up at the top of the screen, there's a health bar up there. And so it's kind of the traditional like boss battle health bar that shows up when you start fighting the monster, except for, you know, in this instance, this is a player-controlled boss.
So what's the difference? There's two bars of the.
So the top one is armor, and that the monster can regenerate armor, and the bottom one is actual health, and the monster can't regenerate health.
Can you talk a little bit about how you balance something like this? Because I'm interested in what the relationship is, sort of between the monster and the 4 other players. Is it almost like playing a dungeon master where you're just trying to facilitate a good time for the other people that are playing, or are you like
No, you're trying to win.
You're trying to win. Okay.
Yeah. So there, right now, this blue effect is a dome. It's a shield, a mobile arena, and the Trapper class has that. And the Trapper class's job is to contain the monster and control its movement. The monster wants to run away, wants to get bigger and bigger, and the hunters want to stop that. And so that's one of the tools that they have. They encase the monster in this dome and force the fight to happen. And in this case, the monster did pretty well. It still has a little slice of armor, and managed to get away. So it didn't lose any real life, just lost armor, which it can regenerate. So the monster did pretty good in that fight.
So the hunters obviously win if they kill the monster.
Right, and it works the other way around. If the monster wipes the whole team, then the monster will win. But if the monster only kills 1 or 2 of the characters, they can come back on the dropship. Or in this case, the medic here is named Lazarus. He's able to bring people back from the dead, so they don't have to wait for those reinforcements.
You can, any character can like pick up a down character though, right?
Right.
As long as they don't,
Yes.
the timer doesn't. Yeah.
You can go, when you lose all of your health, you go to an in-cap state where you're on the ground and you're shooting a pistol, and you can be revived from that 2 times. But then after that, you're dead.
Assuming that there's somebody who wants to take the risk of getting devoured by the monster while you're doing that.
Right, and it's a good point too. Just speaking of getting devoured, the monster can eat people. So if the monster in-caps players, a lot of times he'll pound them out and then eat them, and then there isn't a body to revive for Lazarus.
Well, naturally.
Okay.
It's good. It's good
How do
strategy.
you train players to do all this in the first place? Like, it seems like a little intimidating for someone who's not.
It is. So it's the thing is, you know, if new hunters are fighting a new monster, the new monster's not using abilities very well, and is not using tactics very well, and the hunters are just kind of running around and shooting. And so it all kind of works out as long as new players are fighting new players, and then more experienced players are fighting experienced players. But we do a lot of work in the game between the VO system, an in-game game coach system, tutorial videos, to try to educate players before they jump in for the first time.
Yep.
Is there a witch equivalent in terms of griefing the people that you're supposed to be working with? Because that's one of my all-time, not only one of my favorite things from Left 4 Dead, but possibly one of my favorite video game things ever.
There is. So this environment is filled with AI-controlled wildlife, and the monster has to kill this wildlife and eat it. But you know, the hunters are small compared to the monster, and the wildlife is actually a really big threat to the hunters. So we've got various types of wildlife that they vary in the amount of danger and risk that they present to the hunters. You can be swallowed whole by a megamouth. They look like a rock. In fact, there's one right there right now. So that's a megamouth. It's kind of this big toad. See, you grabbed that guy, but he got saved by his teammates. If you don't get saved by your teammates, he will swallow you whole.
I gotta be honest, playing as a hunter seems pretty terrifying. I mean, it seems like you're looking at the one giant thing that you're supposed to be killing, and then a giant mouth opens up underneath you and swallows you whole.
So the monster at stage 1 is really at a numbers disadvantage. If you stay and kind of fight to the death, you're probably going to be the one getting killed.
So at what stage does that kind of turn?
Stage 2. So stage 2, it's a really kind of even numbers game. And then stage 3 is where the tables have turned and the monster now has the advantage.
Hunters become the hunted, so to speak.
Is wiping the hunters the only way that the monster wins the game?
No.
2 ways. The monster can either wipe the team at any stage. He can wipe the team. We do have stage 1 wins in the office. If the monster does get to stage 3, it opens up another possibility where, in this case, we're at a dam, and the monster can destroy a power relay, which powers the dam.
Interesting. And the stages are governed by the monster eating the
wildlife.
To get stronger.
Yep.
Okay.
How long is an average match? Like, how long does it take to get to each stage?
Average match is about 12 minutes, 12 to 13 minutes right now, according to telemetry. So I don't know how many minutes at each stage.
Split it up.
20 minutes is the maximum time, you know. But the thing is, if you're in combat, at the end of the 20 minutes, it goes into sort of sudden death.
Okay.
So you'll never win by timeout.
But if you're just completely
or
lost,
lose by timeout.
He stops you.
Yeah.
So, is every match like? Does it have to be 5-player multiplayer? There's no, playing with AI hunters.
Oh no, absolutely.
Oh, there are.
Yeah. I mean, you can do. If you just want to be the monster, you can jump in and set the hunters to be 4 AIs. Vice versa, or sort of any combination in between. We wanted to make sure that was flexible, for whatever situation.
And it also allows for some cool stuff where, like, if you were fighting your buddies and you were the monster player and your internet connection disconnected or your computer crashed, AI will take over, and if you can reboot, and you can rejoin the game and take him back over.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Since, I mean, it's a 12-minute battle, so you've got time to get back in there. So monster's caught in a harpoon trap right there. That's, again, one of Maggie's, as the trapper, one of her abilities is to lay down traps that the monster gets ensnared in and kind of gets rooted into place.
How do you go about balancing all these different things? Because, I mean, I feel like balancing different monsters versus 4 different classes would be difficult enough, but effectively it sounds like there's 12 different classes. So, like, how do you, each with their own, like, different tool sets and different abilities, how do you go about balancing all of that?
There's a lot of, it's just a lot of play time.
Yeah.
We've been playing the game for over 3 years. We play it every night inside of the studio for an hour. And when we gather a ton of telemetry, we have data on every single event that happens in every game. So we're able to study that telemetry after every match. We can watch replays of matches. And then just because we're playing every night, we're also paying attention to sort of like what people's perception of the game is. Even if the numbers say everything's okay, but you feel like the monster's too powerful, or you feel like this character's kind of cheap, we have to adjust.
Have you gotten any really weird results from the telemetry? It seems like those kind of things that just, like, I don't know, you'd be really surprised by something.
Can't.
It's weird that it's been, like, oddly balanced almost all the time.
It's funny to watch, to maybe see the outliers, to see, like, I watched a 2-minute 11 match, and then I watched a 33-minute round the other day, so to see sort of the outliers, the extremes.
So the 33-minute round, that's like if they get to 20 minutes, and then
they keep fighting.
Yep.
And so it was a real just brawl, just a back and forth brawl, and neither team was able to sort of take the advantage. So it was quite an epic match.
Can you connect the dots for me between, like, Left 4 Dead and this? Because it obviously seems so reminiscent of the competitive multiplayer where one team would be the special zombies and one team would be the survivors. It seems like I almost said evolution, and that would have been a terrible pun that I promised myself I wouldn't make. But it almost seems like this is the next step from that. Is that accurate? Did you guys play that and say, we're onto something cool here? Let's see what we can do with this?
The idea is actually older than Left 4 Dead. I mean, we were talking about this, before Left 4 Dead was ever a thing.
Yeah.
But certainly we learned a lot from Left 4 Dead, and we also didn't get to do a lot in Left 4 Dead. We didn't. You could choose your different characters, but it didn't really mean anything. If you were Zoe versus Francis, it didn't matter. You got different VO, and that was it. And also you felt like there's a limited number of things you could try. If you didn't make it and the game restarted, a limited number of things you could try. So we really went for variety here, where every time I can choose a different character, or even if I choose the same character, I can choose a different character perk, which is kind of like a buff that you carry with you into that round. So there's all kinds of, every time that you play the game, there's something else to try. There's everybody comes away from the match feeling like I could have won that if I would have just did X or Y different.
So I feel like we need to point out this is the Kraken.
It is, yes, this is a Kraken, and currently getting beaten up pretty bad.
Are we about to see the finale here?
But we'll see. Yeah, this is
it's not going well for him.
Oh no.
Hyde's flame
Poor
pretty nasty.
Oh no! I was rooting for him secretly.
Oh,
Matt
no.
and I had a very expensive wager going. So that's Evolve. Thank you guys very much for showing it to us. I still have a lot of questions and want to play it out on the show floor.
Definitely play it. That's
I
one
won't
of the
have a chance
reasons
to.
that we're bringing it to E3. You know, it's a lot. Everybody who plays it has a good time, and that's the important part.
Yep.
When can we expect that? Evolve?
October 21st.
Oh wow!
In fall, so
Pretty soon.
it's very soon. We're working very hard.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and thank you for joining us. Stick around. We'll have more videos like this going up all week with E3 previews. So stay tuned. Bye, everybody.